Hey, welcome. This is Cardboard Minutes. I'm Will.
I'm Farhan.
I'm Nabil.
And we're going to be looking at games that everybody loves, except for us. I mean, maybe not us as a whole, because I'm sure our lists are going to be very different.
Yeah.
And we would probably all have different reasons for disliking these games.
Yeah. Yep.
And we're not trying to rag on the games themselves. Like, we purposely are looking at games that are generally well received, maybe by the bigger gaming community or just people in general, and are liked by large quantities of people. But something about it kind of made us bounce off it a little bit.
A lot of these are pretty high up on the BGG rankings.
If you're keeping score, I want to see in the comments. Maybe someone can keep score with whatever the current BGG list of the day is.
Yeah.
And see which one of us has the most divisive opinions.
Yeah.
Interesting.
From the games that we dislike versus the rankings. I'm curious to see that.
By the way, I have not also played all of the games on the BGC Top 100.
No.
So there might be games on there that, might be on your lists or might be a game that's popular and might not gel with us, but it's probably not on our list.
Not all these games are in the top 100 either.
No, sure. That as well. So.
Yeah, one that's top 100 fluctuates.
It does.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I don't know, should we decide to rule out things like mass market games first?
Yeah, I think so. I think mass market.
I think it's worth saying that there may be the occasional diamond in the rough, but any game that involves pushing the toilet handle until you get sprayed in the face.
Anything that starts with an M and ends with an O.
Yeah.
You probably just leave that out entirely. Snakes and ladders, things like that. We're gonna stick to modern designer board games.
Yeah.
And let's try to give at least a small reason why we may not like it.
That could be hard in some cases. Some of these I'm just like, I don't know.
It could be very subjective. Like that's totally fine. Like,
and that's just it, right? These are our opinions, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, don't hit on us, but if you disagree, feel free to leave a comment.
I'm sure you disagree.
There might be a person or two at this table that might disagree with me on one of my selections.
Me as well.
And it's going to happen, so we'll keep it cordial.
Okay, I'm gonna start with some low-hanging fruit here. and I mean, this is probably despised by many modern gamers. I'm not 100% sure, but I've had some absolutely dreadful experiences with Munchkin.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if any of you have played.
I've not played
Munchkin.
I have not played.
It is kind of a classic. I guess you could say classic game. There's about 1,000 different sets of Munchkin out there. But you have not experienced Munchkin until you have played through an entire game and still have nothing but your starter cards.
Oh my god.
Either because cards came up that on your turn that you were just incapable of playing because they didn't match your faction or whatever, or things that happened during the game caused, made you lose stuff. But if you sat there for 45 minutes and have done not a single thing the entire game.
That's frustrating.
That is, and not because of anything that you've done or tried to do. And there's different versions that maybe balances, but that's happened to me once. And I've had other games that just not gel with me as well. But
everything I've heard about Munchkin makes me think that I wouldn't like it if I played it. But I mean, like, that kind of a game, like, it's supposed to be light and silly and, like, you can't take it too seriously. But if it takes 45 minutes to play it,
and you've done nothing.
That's
crossed the line there.
No, I can't comment on that, but that sounds painful.
All right. What do you guys got?
Which way do we? I'll go next.
Yeah, go for it.
Also low hanging fruit, but mainly because it's number one on BGG for X number of years. I think it's been on top for probably half the decade or longer. Is Gloomhaven, and that includes Jaws of the Lion, by the way, which I know tends to significantly improve. See, you've got Scots.
I like Gloomhaven.
I know you do. And a lot of
vast majority of people do.
I have Breast Standard and Jaws of the Lion, and I would love Frosthaven.
Yeah. No, I know it's a very popular game. First of all, dungeon crawls just aren't my thing. So that's a baseline kind of scratch against that. Number two is the sheer amount of content and grindy nature of Gloomhaven by itself. I mean, it's supposedly less so, but than other dungeon crawls. but just the base amount of time that it requires to set up and organize. I know Jaws of the Lion improves that significantly, but it's still quite a bit. And we played through Jaws of the Lion a few campaigns.
Yeah.
Like, I think we played 3 or 4 campaigns, and even the intro scenarios.
3 or 4 games, not campaigns.
3 or 4 games in the campaign, and it was still to the point where we hadn't leveled up, enough, and we were like, this is going too slow for us. I want to go through the whole campaign with this.
Yeah.
So that's one game, and then just the fact that it's a dungeon crawl. I personally don't like those types of games anyway. I prefer more Euro-y games or games with more
Less color.
Yeah. Less color. More beige.
More beige.
No, I like my theme, but still, that just didn't gel for me, and that's why it's there.
Jaws of the Lion also kind of fell flat for me for the same reason. Like, I felt like it was moving too slowly. I will say I do like the video game version of Gloomhaven.
Okay.
Because a lot of that administration and the setup is gone, right? It's all digitized.
Yeah.
So you get the actual meat of the game faster. And I think the app is pretty well implemented.
Yeah, so the upkeep of these types of games just kind of takes away from actually playing the game itself. Setting up the maps, putting the tokens out there, and then during the game you're like looking, okay, line of sight, this, that, and you're kind of like, okay, can I just actually get to the meat of the game? And by the time you're done, you need to tear down and set up the next thing. So it's kind of too much in between for me. And for those reasons, for that reason, I'll be out.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, I'm also going to come out swinging here. All these are kind of swinging for the fences on all these. I'm going to go with, we're going to start off with Kemet. Yeah. Kemet. I will go on record saying I never, ever want to play Kemet ever again. And I never will. I will straight up refuse to play Kemet.
Why?
Why? I'm not a big fan of area control games. And I also find with Kemet, there are straight up some broken strategies, some broken combos. And there are some combos that, like, they just don't work. And you might just stumble into one that is amazing and you just crush everybody, or you stumble into one where your hands are tied. So I guess you could argue that, with repeated plays, you'll figure those things out, but I don't really want to invest the time into playing a game that I don't like just to get better at it and maybe like it more. But again, like similar to, for any like dungeon crawl, I just don't like area control games in general.
Fair enough.
There are a few exceptions, obviously, to that rule, but I just don't like them. And I've played it 3 times, and each time it was like I would rather go to the dentist with no anesthetic.
Oh, that's
harsh criticism.
Yeah, and that's just my opinion.
Oh yeah,
that's just me.
All right, I'm gonna come swinging. I'm probably not as high as Gloomhaven, but I think Terraforming Mars is pretty high up on the list.
Oh, okay.
Now I will preface this with I do love the Ares expedition to the point where I've already backed the expansion content. But the base game, which I do think the drafting variant helps a lot, but because of how small a draft there is, people can luck into combos that are drastically better than what other players have, and it almost swings the game in their favor. And I mean, it wouldn't be a problem with a shorter game, but if you're playing a full 4-player game of Terraforming Mars, this could be a 4-hour game, especially with slower AP per players. This could be long, and if that player's combos are at the point where now they're getting more and more cards, and their engines getting bigger and bigger, and the game's taking longer and longer. I just don't like how luck dependent the card draw is in comparison to how slow, methodical the rest of the kind of Eurocentric nature of the game is. I think those are at odds with each other,
especially when the deck is so large.
And the desk is so large. You may just never get cards.
Exactly. You may never get the cards that you need to synergize your even if you're trying to go for a specific strategy, you may never see the cards to get that strategy going, get that engine going.
Yeah, I'm also not a fan of the pledging for the end game goals, but that's more of a personal preference. I can see some people like that. I don't particularly like, shutting people out of in-game scoring goals, even though they may have been working for the last 3 hours towards that one goal. And someone goes, I'm going to buy that. I'm getting no points for it, but I'm just going to take it so that you don't have it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terraforming Mars. Yeah, I agree.
And it's ugly.
And it does not
That
look
is
nice.
undeniable.
It's not the best looking game for sure. Okay, I'm going to say this next game, and I might not be invited back on this channel after Will hears this. But I'm going to say Anachrony is on my list. I know that it's Will's favorite game, and I'm sorry, Will, and to everybody else that loves that game. It's a very well regarded game. It's a great game for a lot of people. For me, it feels like doing homework, and. It's just, I mean, to be fair, the expansions add to that heaviness.
We did play with the new expansion, which is by far the one that elongates it and complicates it the most.
So those are two things that making the game longer, which I'm not a fan of. I prefer games to be more, what's the word? Snappy, and it's kind of they get to the end. I mean, you get a good engine going. And
would you play base game?
I would play it again. I mean, base game I would play.
Base game takes it down from like a mid-4 to like mid-3s in terms of level.
Yeah, I would play the base.
It probably cuts an hour off the time.
But I don't know if I even want to. I mean, I don't like the game enough to be able to do that. And also, I mean, having that sheer complication of doing all of that math and kind of, if you screw up a little bit, maybe that is also part of the expansion. It like sets you back so much that you kind of try and find hard to catch up in that game. So yeah, for me, it didn't quite do it for me. So for that reason, I would put Anachrony on that list of games that I don't quite enjoy that everybody else likes a lot.
Oh man.
Okay.
Sorry, I still like the game.
I know you do. Yeah, there you go.
All right. And the coffin that comes in.
The massive one.
All right. Well, to follow in Farad's footsteps here, my next one is also one that I might not get invited back for. My next one that I just don't like is Scythe.
Ooh.
It's again like one of the most well-regarded, well-liked, most played Euro games out there. And on paper, it's got everything that I would like in a game. Like I like games that are similar to Scythe. But I've played Scythe again like 3 or 4 times now, and it just falls flat for me, and I guess it's not one that I would straight out refuse to play, but it's not one that I would ever want to play. I would ever choose to play again. It just doesn't do it for me. I don't know what it is. I think maybe part of it is just that I don't know. I don't mind being bad at games, and that doesn't usually
help with your enjoyment of the game.
It doesn't usually affect whether how much I like the game or not, but maybe I think this time it might have. I don't know. It's just something about Scythe just doesn't do it for me.
And that's fair, because if you play a game, 3 or 4 times, you can't quite figure out what the best way to do well at that game is. Yeah. You just tend to be like, okay, I don't know, really play this game because I can't figure out a way to do well at it. And that's fair. That's happened to me for a few games as well. So,
but it's still like you gave it more than a fair shot.
Yeah, I've played it several times, and with or without expansions. So it's not like there's not enough for me there or there's too much for me there. It's just, I don't know. I can't put my finger on why. Maybe I gotta play it more to find out. Exactly, but it's not gonna happen probably.
Yeah.
So there you go.
No.
All right. Well.
All right. I'm not know if you guys agree with me on this one or not. I feel like you might, but I'm gonna say Root.
Root.
Another really popular game, and I want to say that I'd ever want to get into it, but I'm tempted to get into like the app or the digital implementations, just because that I can kind of experiment with it. But I find it has the same problem as other games in that series, like Vast had, where and maybe it's because a lot of times I'm teaching board games, to a meetup or to other people. I don't have to teach 4 games.
That's a hard game to teach
at once, and then explain how each of those 4 games interact with each other, so that it makes sense, right? Like each of the factions is so different.
Yeah.
that they are almost separate games. And if someone, and part of what I don't like the most is that it's almost every gang up on the leader game. And whoever's in the lead needs to be ganged up on, or they will win. Because each of those factions has ways to kind of steamroll everyone else unless they're kind of pulled down or kept in check. And if whoever at the table has that faction that is good at keeping the leader faction, like the winning faction, whatever the current winning faction is in check, if they're not pulling their weight, then...
Or if they're a new player who doesn't know.
Or they're a new player who doesn't know because they're so asymmetric.
No fault of their own.
Yeah, they're so asymmetric they don't even know that they should be doing that thing because it doesn't help them. It's
passive king-making.
It's just to prevent someone else. Yeah, it's almost passive king-making.
I think Root's a game that shines with the same game group. That's probably one of those where you learn it as a group and then you try different factions and then you know the strategies of each of them and with repeated plays it gets better and better. Maybe. But I haven't gotten that far yet.
You need like the same people playing just that game, and everyone's at the same relative skill level and proficiency in that game.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I mean, we've said this many times through countless videos now, is there are so many games out there. Why am I going to invest more time playing a game that I don't really like, as opposed to spending that time playing a game that I know I do like, or I play a new game that I might like more? You know. There has to be some reason for me to keep going back to that game.
No.
Whatever that reason is, theme, mechanisms, the group that I play with, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If there's no reason for me to go back and keep playing, then I'm not going to go back and keep playing.
But Root is played a lot at our game group and at our meetup, and there's a group that plays Root almost every week. And that's a good game for them because now they're familiar with it. Yeah. They know the players around the table. They can kind of strategize better that way. So
I've also seen them bring in new players who show up.
Oh yeah,
and rope somebody new in, and they
smash them.
they get swap, or someone wins because they couldn't do what was needed to control the winner faction. So. That's my...
All right.
I know it's popular, but...
Yeah. That's the basis of the video.
That's kind of the whole video.
I shouldn't have to apologize.
I'm sure there are games that we love that other people don't like as well.
All right.
Calico is the next one on my list.
Really?
And it is on my list, and I'll say this.
So you like Calico? Oh, you like Calico.
He likes Calico a lot. I like Cascadia and even Verdant way better. The reason I'd say that is Calico is not a heavy game, but it just puts my brain into a pretzel for the length of a 45-minute game, which is like you have to work so hard to figure out. And it's just the way it's laid out. It's a very simple game. It's take a tile, put it on your board. But which tile you take and where you put it is just such the way the tiles are designed and like the patterns on them and then the patterns on your board and kind of matching them up and then the colors and it's like buttons and then you kind of, so it just, for some reason it doesn't gel with me and I end up getting frustrated at that puzzle. Most puzzles I enjoy of that ilk, by the way, but that one just for some reason, I love cats too. So
it's true.
I don't know. It doesn't quite work for me because it doesn't quite do it for me. So
on paper, it should.
It should. Right? It does a lot of things nice. It's light. It's cool. But
yeah.
I don't know if I call Calico light.
No. The sheer mechanics.
It's true. Like
the flow of the game. Yeah. Yes, and the theme makes it appear light, but that is a brain buster.
Yeah.
And I love Calico.
You love it, yeah.
Calico is, of those three games. Calico is my top, is one I like the most.
You like the most.
But I get why people just don't always like it, because it is like, it's so restrictive the way it's the game. And maybe you need that one tile to make or break the entire game, you know? Yeah. And you don't get it.
Yeah. But even though it's on my list, I would play it again. But I would definitely choose the other games in that series over it for sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what's next on my list here. Okay, we're gonna go with another one that is, I'd say, fairly popular. And this one, it's more the entire genre, but we'll go with this one because it is the foremost example. It's The Crew. The Crew.
Trick taking. Okay.
Okay.
I can't. I won't. I can't do it. I can't. So I used to play a lot of a game called 325 when I was younger. Deck of 52 cards. It's like Trump, if you've ever played Trumps. Basically, someone calls a Trump suit at the beginning of the round, and then you're trying to play. Everyone plays a card, and you're trying to take tricks by playing the highest card, right?
Yeah.
And in 325, someone's trying to make 3 tricks, someone's trying to make 2,
Right.
make 5.
Yeah. I played that one a lot.
Right,
That's
okay.
actually, that rings a bell.
I played that a lot when I was a kid. I used to love it. But I got to a point where after a couple rounds, I could basically predict what everybody was going to play around the table, and that was no longer fun for me.
Wouldn't that make you good at the Crew, though?
But that's not fun. There's no tension. It's just like, and when you're playing with that one person at the table who just doesn't get trick taking, and it's taking 20 minutes to play one card, and it's like, I could have told you what you're going to play 15 minutes ago. It's not fun for me.
Trick taking is a genre that
It's a very distinctive genre.
It's a distinct genre, but it helps to play with people that know the basis of trick taking.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know, like
and not just the rules of trick taking,
No.
but the basis of
like how to
understanding the flow of the game
and specifically
how tricks get won or lost.
Yeah.
And like knowing to slough off cards.
slough off. Yeah, that's a huge part of it. Right?
when to just dump something, when to not. So I don't like taking games in general, and specifically with the Crew. I also don't like cooperative games where you can't talk freely.
You can't talk at the table.
And I get that that's a really central mechanism in the game. That's really
It would be too easy.
It would be too easy, right? But I just feel like if you're going to make a cooperative game, let me cooperate.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's just me. Trick taking is one of those things that I don't like.
It's one of those mechanisms that does not mesh well with other ones.
Yeah.
Like even with the new Bright Room,
Trick taking plus area control. Yeah, absolutely. Sign me up.
No. Yes, appeals #1
With
game.
no theme. Great.
But it's
I haven't played it yet.
but even that one it does not work.
Yeah.
If you took away the trick taking and it was just card playing,
Yeah.
the game has a solid backbone, but I've yet to see trick taking games that worked.
It's weirdly
Right? Like
that
Honshu had trick taking with city building.
Yeah.
That didn't work either. It was better once you dropped the trick taking.
Yeah.
I've heard there's also a solo trick taking game coming out. How is that gonna work?
There was a printed play for that one.
Was there?
on a
Okay.
Kickstarter.
I don't get the hell.
I forget what company it was.
Is it a Stonemeyer game? No.
No.
I don't think so.
All right.
All right, there you go. The Crew.
Okay. All right. There's another must-love one, and I'm gonna add in a caveat that the new little version I think looks really good because it's sped up and simplified and easier to get the stuff you need, and that's Everdell. And I mean, not only is the I have to mention the tree, and I don't dislike the game because of the tree, but I need to mention that I don't know if it's still up here.
Yeah.
Yggdrasil Chronicles.
Yeah, but I know the Everdell tree sat put together around here for a long time.
Yeah.
Because it would fall apart if it didn't, and it shook meeples to the ground every time someone bumped the table, and things like that. But I find the game is almost too slow for what it is. There's for a simple mechanisms and there's very, very rudimentary basic worker placement. The game just went on too long, but also, especially at lower player counts, it was even worse. There wasn't enough churn in the card deck.
Because it's a big deck, yeah.
And there were certain cards and strategies that relied on you getting the matching specific ones. And if you didn't get that, you have just wasted your initial kind of investment into that strategy.
I feel a theme here with your choices. Everdell, Terraforming Mars.
Yeah, big decks, yeah.
Big decks with specific cards you don't get.
Which is funny because something like Ares Expedition works because even though you may not get the perfect card for you, you can still make use of what you have.
Yeah.
I love the co-op mode in that game.
Oh, yeah.
Ares really it's tough as nails. But
We haven't won it yet.
No, we don't.
And the art is fantastic in Everdell. I am seriously looking at the little version just because it takes away some of that requiring specific cards and kind of ballparks them more. So now instead of like, you know, the daddy and the mummy cards needing to pair up, it's just like any card that is a symbol could match with it. So it simplifies things. I think it adds more flexibility in the worker placement as well. So it's not just however many actions is 4 or 6 basic resource gathering. Anyways, that's one that maybe it's because of the disappointments. Like I wanted to like it more because of the theme and the art, and the hype behind it. And that kind of made it fall a little harder than it should have.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. I think your expectations, not when the game doesn't meet your expectations, they're so high. It can definitely make the dislike seem more.
Right, for my last game on my list, I'd say I don't hate this game, but it's very dependent on the people that you play it with, and the game is Cosmic Encounter. So I can think of a couple groups that this game would probably shine with, because it's just the type of people who love to sit at a table and shout at each other across the table and try and, pressure the other person or tricking the other people at the table, perhaps that don't even know the game as well, to do stuff that might be or may not be in their best interest. But yeah, this game is one that a lot of people like, including the Dice Tower, or Tom Vasson specifically. It was his number one game for a long time. But that's because, he plays with so many different people, and probably he played it with, the groups that would be more conducive to that type of environment. For me and people that I play with, it didn't quite work. I'd be open to trying it again, maybe with the right groups, but didn't quite do it for me.
Maybe at a convention or something.
Maybe at a convention or something.
It would work well at a convention. You get a large group of people just...
Yeah. So there you have it. It's got a lot of fun, neat mechanics, but the core mechanic of kind of that negotiation is one that kind of didn't quite work for me. But Cosmic Encounter.
Okay. Well, I've got 2 more on the list here.
But let me finish this off.
I think we'll stick with one.
Okay.
And I think this one is a bit more... I dislike this one a bit more than the other one. So we're going to go with Base Pandemic.
Okay.
Again, it's probably one of the most well-known, most played, well-loved cooperative games on the market. I mean, even people who aren't into the board game hobby know Pandemic, at least, or have heard
And now they do.
Too soon.
Sorry.
You can't use words like that, or YouTube's gonna flag us.
Oh, sorry. Right? Is that okay?
Just
Right.
Just don't mention any specific pandemics by name.
Right. No, I will not. This is just the board game. To be clear, So I feel like I think I've played this game too much in the past. I've also played the game with some alpha gamers, and this game is super prone to alpha gamers, who will take everybody's turn at the table, and you won't get to do anything, and that's and the game can go on for 2.5 hours of that. It's not fun.
No.
For anybody except for that one person. And even they might not be having fun because they're stressed out playing 5 different games.
Because no one's doing what they're asking.
No one's doing what they're being told to do. And I think there are a lot of cooperative games now that do the same thing but better, or some riff on it but better. I mean, it's just I think I'm just done with it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's playing something and then kind of having some souring experiences is very valid.
So I am interested in trying out some of the new Pandemic system games, like the new World of Warcraft one or the Star Wars one. I think they changed things up a little bit enough that I would go back to it and see what I think.
See what's about
So I think those I'd be interested in trying those.
Cool.
I think you'll like the Star Wars one.
Yeah,
since I think you're earliest.
I mean, I like the Star Wars.
Pretty big Star Wars fan.
I'm a sucker for the Star Wars theme.
Or if they came out with an X-Men pandemic.
Oh, man. I'm back in, baby.
All right, well, I think that about does it for now. I mean, I will reiterate that many of these are excellent games, and we're not trying to put these games themselves down. Just how they maybe went bad from some experiences we had, or didn't gel with us. I hope our reasons at least made sense of why they may not be for you either. But if you don't have a problem with those reasons, you might want to try those games because they are all excellent games.
And hey, feel free to roast us in the comments. I'm sure there are lots of different opinions on a lot of what we said.
Ready for the Gloomhaven hate. I'll take it.
All right. Well, anyway, with that, I think we're going to end it there. So thanks again for watching, and this has been Carper Minute.
See you guys.